Hello everyone and welcome back to Messages for You with Marva Kent. So, excuse me. Um, I have a grandmother here. This is a message for Missy. And I've been holding on to this message for a long time, and I am now going to give it because at some point this is going to find the person that it needs. And so my intention is for this to find the person that it needs. Whether this is Missy or this is someone who can relate to the words that I'm about to say, I hope this brings you peace in some way. Missy. Your grandmother says that all you can remember is her last breath. All you can remember is her last breath. And all she can see is your sorrow and your pain. There's a feeling of knowing that both sides knew that it was time. It was time. It's been a long journey and it was time. But that still doesn't make up for that missing of it. Doesn't make up for that missing of that person. That person who is so dear, who helped raise you. This woman here, this lovely woman, is my great-grandmother. Yes, I know I don't have a frame, but I've had the vision of the frame for her recently. I can't remember what happened to her former frame, but I had the vision, so I'm waiting to get the frame. And she had my grandma, and my grandma was the love of my life. She was just, this woman would peel oranges for me. She would peel the orange, and then she would peel the individual skin off the orange and take the seeds out, because we're talking the 70s, back when, there were no navel oranges. And, she would have oranges shipped from Florida because they would snowbird there. And, excuse me, I'm going to cough. Excuse me. And, I remember when my grandmother got sick, and I remember, when she went in the hospital, and, you have all those thoughts, and you don't want to think them, but, it's normal, and it's human, and it's logical to wonder if, how am I going to feel? It's all right to, I have like a whole bunch of nurse spirits here, and they're like, it's always okay to wonder those things. If these, if you have a loved one that's, getting older, getting sick, and, things are just, going down, it's okay to wonder, how many more times is she going to be in the hospital? How many more times is she going to have to go through this? And like myself, I've had a parent with a very long illness. So at some point, you're either clamoring on to please don't leave me, or you're sitting there going, my God, I really hate to say this, but you would be better had you passed away, if you would pass away. It's a real double-edged sword. It's hard because we miss that person in the physical, but we don't want them to suffer in the physical, which means we have to let their souls go. We have to let them breathe. Your grandmother says to me, she says, Missy, don't remember the last breath I took. Remember the first breath you remember me taking. Remember every single time I breathed in to say, I love you. Remember every single time I breathed in to, oh my God, what are you doing? Every time I laughed, every time I breathed in to tell you something, to laugh, to be funny, to yell at someone, every breath in that I took, I want you to remember those breaths and not that last one. Because that last breath is the breath that gave me peace. Oh, hello, Oscar. That is the breath that gave me peace. That is the breath that is the breath that brought me to God. That is the breath I'm trying to articulate. I have a pink flower in front of me, but I just saw it in my mind's eye because I'm not looking in the viewfinder. I'm just kind of looking off. I'm just listening in. And Oscar, you just got up here. She's saying, I don't want you to be scarred by that last breath. That last breath took me out of pain. That last breath brought me to God. That last breath brought me to the people that I miss. That last breath freed me. So if you have to remember that last breath, she says, please remember that last breath is this freeing breath that allowed me to leave this body and allowed this soul to rise. And she's telling me that you'll understand what I'm saying. Oscar's an orange ginger. She says, so, you know, if you have to remember that last breath, please, 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 sweetheart, don't remember it as my death. Think of it as the last breath of this life, but the first breath of my new life. And on that note, she says, don't even, just please remember all the breaths I took in. Every moment I smiled, every moment you watched me cook, I was breathing. Remember those breaths. And you know and you realize that I'm safe and I'm running around and I'm playing and I'm doing the things that I love to do. She says, you know that. You feel that. She's saying something about someone is, my breath is clear now. Oh wow, my chest is clear now. My coffee has mocha in it and homemade chocolate sauce. Let me know if you want the recipe. And it wasn't so long ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It's not fresh, but it's lingering. And you know, one of the things that they're reminding me and saying, and one of the things I can tell you is from the human aspect, it takes a good 5 years for our brains to realize our person is gone. You know, it's like, I always say, you notice how sometimes when a guy has a beard and he's had a beard for a long time and he shaves it off, nobody notices? Because your brain takes a picture and it's used to having a very specific picture of it in your brain. 755 on the timer. And it's the same thing when someone passes away. We get used to their energy and we get used to seeing them in that house or in that corner or you know, sitting there or whatever. And it takes a good 5 years for, you know, even though your body and your nervous system and your soul understands, it takes 5 years for your brain to get there too. You know, maybe it might be taking you a little longer. Maybe the pain is a little harder because, you know, no death is simple and no death is easy, and everything comes with its grief. And grief, 833 on the timer, comes with its time and its path. You know, grief is a path like life, right? You've got to let it navigate, but also you've got to actually experience it. You've got to have the breakdown. You've got to have the cry. And even if you've had the breakdown and the cry, you have to let your nervous system feel that emotion too. You know, it's a whole body thing. It's getting upset and crying because you miss your grandmother and you wish she was here, because you know what, if she was here, people wouldn't be doing this shit, right? You know, it's like, you know, and also it's sometimes placing why we're angry that they left. And it's sometimes just doing those little things that can make you realize, you know, I'm like with my mom, you know, if stuff going on in my life would not be going on the way it is if my mommy was here, you know what I'm saying? But she's not, and I have to accept that. And remember what she would have done and try to handle it like her. Hi, Oscar Beans. Ooh, we're getting down. So she says, light a lantern in my honor and send it with your love to the sky. And let your pain go. Let go of that memory of that last breath you saw, because that was my first breath. It's a speedy car. And that's, I'm not sure if that's significant, but like, but she says, don't remember that last breath as sorrow. Remember all of the first breaths you saw me take. Remember all of the breaths you saw me take in, and know that that last breath, it wasn't sorrowful for me. It was joyful, because now on the other side I can breathe. I can do what I want to do, and I'm independent. And all of the things I couldn't do while I was sick, I can do now. And that last breath doesn't have to be painful, because that last breath was actually my first breath back on the other side, where my real home is, where all of our homes really are. And what you really miss, she says, is the human. You miss me as the human, and that is fair. But I want you to remember that human body took breaths in, that she breathed life. And she loved you, and every breath she took was love for you. And everything she showed you, she loved showing you. And every bit of you, the uniqueness that is you, she loves, she loved, she will always cherish and love and accept of you. She needs you to know that. She breathes now. Have you ever seen the movie I Remember Mama? She breathes now. That's not the quote in the movie, but it's an old movie with Irene Dunn. If you like old movies, if you like old movies. Anywho, I don't know what the hell that was. Maybe Florida, maybe Disney World, maybe Mickey Mouse, maybe Walt Disney, maybe Disney World, maybe the Sunday night Disney, the wonderful world of Disney on Sunday nights is important to you on some level. I'm unsure. Did you watch that with your grandma? Maybe somebody did. Take that how it resonates, my loves. But it's a movie. It's a black and white movie with Irene Dunn, 1344 on the timer. It's a black and white movie with Irene Dunn. And it's about a Norwegian family raising their children in America in San Francisco at the turn of the century, when horses and buggies were still there and cars were brand spanking new. This is one of my mom's absolute favorite movies, and I love it too. And it's just such a wonderful movie about how values from one culture change in this culture, you know. It's beautiful. It's not dramatic or horribly. It's not, you know, it's just a lovely, nice movie, and I'm recommending it to you because they're telling me to. So yeah. I remember Mama with Irene Dunn, D-U-N-N, I-R-E-N-E, D-U-N-N. Yeah, maybe I should make a file and put the previews in there. Movies are recommended and then one for songs. Let me know what you guys think. Anyway, if you like this, please like and subscribe. I feel like I have conveyed as much of this message as I can without starting to repeat the vomit repeat. Repetitively vomit the same message over and over and over again. So yes, and just your grandma says that you always know when she's behind her. She's always with you. She's always behind you, and you know when she's behind you. I don't know what that means. So take it how it resonates. Anyway, love your faces and be good, behave, be happy, and be yourself. And remember, good night. God bless you, and we love you.